Welcome back to Alberta Primetime and our nightly Vocal Point now. The Monday Money Panel is gauging a report that says the new high price of gas is like a 7% tax hike. How do analysts think that it will impact you this time? We find out with Karen Gingras. She owns the Management Mentor in Calgary. Beth Hamilton-Keene is a director and portfolio manager for Moore Investment. And Shafik Hirani is a director and senior executive financial advisor with Investors Group Calgary. Welcome to Alberta Primetime, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
CIBC World Markets issued a report today that the average Canadian will pay the equivalent of a 7% tax hike, an extra $950 for gasoline this year. We've seen a 25% rise since September nationwide. Shafik, is this reaching the point of a more significant impact for households?
Yes and no. I think, first of all, we should be thankful we're not from Americans because they've experienced a 35% increase. But I don't see, the last time gas prices went up, we didn't see less consumption in gas. We saw less consumption in other areas. So people are going to drive just as much, but we're going to cut spending on other consumption. And that's the main worry. If gas prices go up and it's going to be a 7% tax price and it's going to cost $1,000 a year more, I'm probably going to cut out purchasing something in the retail electronics stores and stuff like that.
Is that just an addiction to the luxury of having a car? We just will not give that up. Everything else goes first.
Well, certainly that's part of it. The other part of it is, do we think this is going to last for a long time? And a lot of the political unrest leading to the higher commodity prices right now, many will think is not going to be forever. So they think, oh, it's an increase we have to put up with for a while. We'll find ways to make do and get by. But we're not necessarily going to change our consumption behavior at this point. If it drags on for quite some time, then you may begin to see some eventual changes, trading that Escalade in for the Prius and so on and so forth.
Beth, we did get some news that there's a possible peace deal in Libya, one of the countries in the Middle East that helps spark this oil surge. Is it possible that things could dampen down soon, or do you see a prolonged price spike?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? When will this end? When will we see prices return to what we think is their marginal cost of production? And really, when we do our work, that's what we're using in terms of the profitability of oil companies going forward. The political unrest, we never know what's going to spark up. We never know really where the supply and demand flare-ups are going to occur. So certainly the Libyan peace idea is one that may certainly calm things down a little bit. I don't know how permanent it will be, and I certainly don't know if that will kind of put rest to the rest of the Middle East.
Okay. Karen, Shafik mentioned this, and so did the CIBC World Markets report today. The last time gasoline prices spiked to this level in 2008, we cut back on everything from meals out to clothes to sporting goods. How much could high gasoline prices, should they go on for any amount of prolonged time, have on our economy in general? How much damage could you do? I mean, if you own a company, what are you thinking right now?
I'm thinking if I'm in the retail industry, from anywhere from electronics to clothing, I'd be a little bit worried because families need to, it's not a matter of luxury really to have a car, it is a must.
With our lifestyle today.
Well, it's not just our lifestyle, it's our employment. And particularly in Alberta and probably in many other places as well, but certainly in Alberta, we need to be able to drive to get a job. And it's not, there is no other option. I mean, really, if you look at transportation, there is no other option for many, many people. And with our resource-based industries, right, we have to travel to that work.
So that's the thing that goes.
Things are going to go. Other things will go.
Shafik, just minutes after the report on what high gas prices are costing us, $12 billion, by the way, for Canadian consumers on the year that it's expected. Extra. Yeah. That's not total, that's just the extra. Just minutes after that report came out today, the International Monetary Fund raised its 2011 outlook for the Canadian economy, saying that high commodity prices are driving things, which seems like a good thing. Is it all bad? Is there an upside? Particularly for Albertans.
Well, you know, it's kind of counter-cyclical because, yeah, right after the gas report, the IMF comes up. They raised the Canadian GDP forecast. Canada was the highest GDP forecast from 2.3 to 2.8%. So 2.3 is what they announced that GDP would be in January. Now they're saying 2.8. they said there's two main risks to the Canadian economy. The first risk is real estate. The second one is our debt levels, and the three main risks. The third one is commodity prices. So that caused oil to get hit today, that caused gold to get hit today, and you saw the TSX drop 200 points. So the IMF's report, it is right in that there are risk factors. The risk factor is high commodity prices. High commodity prices do stagnate consumption in an economy. So if oil and commodities do go out of control, there might be some resilience on GDP that might slow down.
All right. Next, the economy is growing. We know that much. Will interest rates grow along with it? The Bank of Canada's next announcement is tomorrow. That and more with our Monday Money panel in a moment. The Bank of Canada's latest interest rate announcement is tomorrow. Our Monday Money panel is gauging what will happen. Beth, the governor has been warning of a rise. Now the nation's economy is posting its fourth straight monthly gain. Is it time? Analysts still saying no. Why?
Well, we believe right now that the government has room to wait. The Bank of Canada has room to wait it out because of some of the risks that were mentioned in terms of what will the higher commodity prices bring, the inflationary impacts, and so on and so forth. Personal household debt levels are a problem to watch, and certainly real estate bubble worries are another problem to watch. So all of those things are kind of the downside potential of the economy. The real question is, will we be able to grow out of this just on pure growth and recovery? And certainly the IMF change does lend us to believe that it might be that case, but at this point we believe the Bank of Canada has room to wait and will probably wait till either the summer months or even into the fall.
Shafik, do you agree?
Yeah, I do. The question also becomes how long do you wait? So if Mark Carney says I'm not going to increase interest rates by a quarter point today or tomorrow, then when do you? And the next meeting is in June. And they really sort of should, I don't want to say they should, it's really their decision, but if they do start raising rates and quantitatively tightening the economy, that will cause the Canadian dollar to even further appreciate. And that further appreciation in the Canadian dollar would hurt some of Eastern Canada. It's still not bad for Albertans. We do a lot of exporting, but it's not the time to do it right now.
We're going to switch topics for a moment. Karen, the fallout continues for U.S. investment guru Warren Buffett after his heir apparent bought $10 million worth of stock in a company that he then recommended Buffett's empire buy at a higher price. How do Albertans know that our business leaders are behaving ethically? This story just sending shockwaves through really the international investment community. What about here?
I'm not sure that there is a way, other than the media, for us to know that business is actually behaving ethically. I think there's really little that we can do unless something hits the news and all of a sudden we know. What do? We look at the financial statements when we're investing. We're hoping that they're sharing truthfully in the work they're doing, particularly since we're so resource-based. It's not as easily identifiable. So I think that really we're really believing in our hearts that they're acting ethically.
Beth, there is a media contingent that specifically covers a lot of the energy companies in Alberta, the juniors as well as the big companies. But would it be safe to maybe rely on media to uncover perhaps unscrupulous business transactions in the oil patch?
Oh, I don't think you rely on the media exclusively. No, I certainly think the media contributes to the watchdog effect, but there's a lot of other things that need to go on. You know, securities commissions, there's other watchdogs, there's self-regulatory organizations that a lot of these companies belong to. And remember, there's a big difference between what's illegal and what becomes unethical. And you really do enter a gray area. And it's a dynamic concern for a lot of people. What we thought was ethical a while ago is no longer ethical. We really have to continue to evaluate and think think through what is really good good investment practice. And really the big question comes in, we've gone through a real trust crisis in the investment industry through the banking crisis, and we really do need to hold our leaders to a higher standard. And I think it's very important to continue to hold them to that higher standard.
Shafik, do you think that the Alberta Securities Commission, the other checks and balances that we have in place are enough, or as Karen suggests, are we being maybe perhaps naive?
Well, I agree with Beth about there being more than just the media in terms of a self-reflection. I think the Alberta Securities Commission is excellent because they do have principles and guidelines, but on top of the Alberta Securities Commission, there are what are called self-regulatory organizations, and every organization has a duty and a due diligence and a code of ethics that people live by. And you know, like Beth mentioned, you know, there's a difference between crossing the scope of the law and something that, you know, my dad always said, if you have to ask whether it's unethical, it probably is. So,
what do you think?
I agree that there are self-regulatory associations that companies belong to, but not all companies are of the size that are covered by this, and not all companies participate when they could participate. And really, you know, the question is, how do we check? How do we know, especially if these aren't companies that you would be investing in? We have a vast array of companies in Alberta, and industry across, you know, it's not just large enough companies to invest in. So how do we, as a society, know a company's acting ethically or not? And does it really matter whether they act ethically or legally?
Is there an upside or a downside for the public, for the investor, if the rich get richer through unethical deals? Does it matter to the average Albertan who's maybe investing in RSPs, maybe throwing some money into a junior? Does it matter?
Well, I think that it does, because of course it's going to affect your stock price. I think the part around the ethics is that it's the company's brand. So say you do invest in a company and something does hit the fan, like it did with Warren Buffett. Well, the company's credibility, their brand is locked up in many ways in their ethics. So their ethics, they cross the line there, their brand is going to suffer. And if you're an investor, then your price of your shares will suffer. And it's not just investors. I mean, as I said, there's many, many other companies that are not public companies that, and all, I think, share the balance between ethics and their brand and their image, and the legal status of what they do within the context of their industry.
Beth, how does it affect the entire investment industry? You've got customers walking in your doors every day that read these news stories.
Absolutely. Well, it has a tremendous effect on the industry, because our industry is built on trust. And the clients that invest with us are ones that trust in our ability to do the research, do the due diligence, and investigate and invest in companies that are good, worthwhile investments going forward. And a lot of that is the trust and the due diligence. Really important to think about what it is that those business leaders are doing and how they're reacting. In this particular case, more telling to me is the aftermath. So yes, the optics didn't look good. It may not have intended to be an unethical transaction. It now looks like it was an unethical transaction. More important to me is, what is a leader doing in the aftermath? What are they doing to remediate that particular transaction?
Well, you would think that Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway are a long way from Alberta, but you've brought the discussion home for us tonight. Thank you all for your participation tonight.
Thanks very much for the invite.
Karen Gingras owns The Management Mentor in Edmonton. Beth Hamilton-Keene is a director and portfolio manager at Moore Investment Management, Calgary. And Shafik Hirani is a director and senior executive financial advisor with Investors Group, also in Calgary. Thank you.